Good evening, everyone. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. All right, so on this channel, we like to talk about Dave Ramsey telephone calls, see what we can learn from them. So if you are new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Every now and then, however, we do step off of the Dave Ramsey telephone call, not very often, but I also like to focus on documentary stories at times and news articles. So what we're going to focus on today, this evening, Friday evening, because it's kind of a slow night here and spring break just started this evening, for me officially at 6 p.m. We're going to talk about a suggestion that one of my viewers had about how couples could manage debt. And what he said was that couples really ought to consider pulling each other's credit report on an annual basis. You know, that free credit report you can get. And I'm going to be honest, I'm sorry that I didn't think of that, because I think it's absolutely outstanding of a suggestion. However, it's one of those suggestions that, depending upon the couple, depending upon, the individuals in that relationship, it could be taken very wrong. So I thought to myself, you know what, let's chat about it. Drop your comments drop your thoughts in the comments below if you wish. Okay. But basically what he suggested was, and it came off of a story, if I'm correct. Okay. It came off of a story very recently that I did, and I'll attach it to the end of this video. But if I'm correct, it came off a story where a woman hit $85,000 in debt. Okay, in credit card bills, consumer debt. She had $85,000 of debt from her husband. And it was only, and this just happened a few days ago, in fact, all right, about within the last week or so. And it was only when she could no longer make the minimum payments would she then decide, oh, darn, I need to do something about it. But this is after it's hit $85,000 in credit card debt. Her husband, the innocent person in this case, is a saver. And the caller that called in, the wife, she admits that she's a spender, and clearly she's a shopping addict. But the husband is a saver, and she credits her husband, with paying off the house and getting their financial life in order. And here she is in the background destroying everything, blowing it up. So my viewer, Parlor, he suggested that, why don't couples pull each other's credit report? And I wrote it back and I was like, genius. So let's talk about it. One of the things that I think makes it such a great idea in pulling each other's credit report is it holds each person continually accountable for the financial health of the relationship. In other words, how many stories have we read, family, where one person says to the other, hey, you're in charge of all the money. You're in charge of everything. And then when things don't quite go right, it doesn't matter whether it's the man who's controlling the money or the woman controlling the money, then it doesn't matter who's in charge, so to speak, of the finances. Okay, when the finances don't go right for whatever reason, okay, the reason doesn't matter. When the finances go off track, the reasons really don't matter. It's the fact that the finances went off track. And then the other spouse says, see, it's all your fault. You were responsible for the finances. But what would happen if we take the idea that Parlor had of pulling credit reports on an annual basis, and the couple, at least annually, they should probably do it close to monthly, okay? But let's just say, we'll go with the couple that really doesn't like to, pay too much attention with each other on their finances, though they actually should. But let's just assume, let's take this couple, and once a year they sit down and they pull their credit report. How would this change the actions, the behaviors of each person in the relationship? To kind of follow that motto that I have, do your spouse no financial harm. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Okay. You actually, you're a woman and you went out and you bought that handbag. Fortunately, I'm not a handbag person, but I know a lot of women are. You bought that handbag, was $200. Probably shouldn't do that too frequently. The guy goes and he buys his, $300 golf clubs. Okay. Again, probably shouldn't do that too frequently, all based on your income, of course. Okay. As a single school teacher, I kind of operate in that realm. I kind of operate in the 50, 60, 70,000 realm. Okay. But would pulling each other's credit report actually improve a relationship or would it make it worse? And I actually thought about this, and here's kind of my idea. I think it would actually improve a relationship, and here's why. Even to the person that maybe doesn't like to deal with the finances. Okay, let's say you're the person you don't really like to deal with the finances much, and you're happy to let the other person do it. That's fine, I guess, okay? However, even though you don't like to deal with the finances, you still need to show your mate that you are dealing with it. How are you dealing with it? You're not running up debt that the person, so-called person in charge of the finances, is trying to deal with. In the case with this wife who ran up $85,000 in credit cards. And again, this just happened. This call was just days ago. Okay. Ran up $85,000 in credit card debt. Meanwhile, her saving husband is thinking all is well. And the question I'm sure a lot of us had is, how did she run up $85,000 without her husband knowing about it? Well, it turns out she also gave a credit card to her mother. Okay, under this married couple's name. And I thought about it. Imagine if the husband and the wife pulled their credit report every 6 months. Annually, not less than annually. Every 6 to 12 months, a credit report is pulled. She would not have been able to hide it. There is no way she could have hidden it. If this is debt that is legally borrowed under her name, she's not forging documents in somebody else's name. We're going to put that idea aside. How could it, well, actually, you could even say, could it have saved possibly their marriage? I don't think their marriage is going to be saved. I just don't. Because of the fact, and I'll link the story at the end, this was the first bankruptcy this couple had was because of her spending. The husband bailed them out. He thinks everything's fine. That they've been married like 30 years. Now they're looking at this second incident. Now, I don't know if it'll lead to bankruptcy or not. Depends upon, how financially solid her husband is. But clearly, in 30 years of marriage, she hasn't solved her spending addiction. I think the idea of pulling credit reports on people who are married, I actually think it's really a good idea. Because part of being responsible financially is to always come clean with your spouse as to what your debts are. It's not even so much the debt. Like in my case, yeah, I'm debt free, but would I require a person to be debt free to marry them? Absolutely not. The only thing I require is I want to know what the debts are, and does he and I do we have a plan on how we're going to pay this off between us both? Can we maneuver our finances well enough so that we can get the debt paid off? That's what I care about. But imagine if that's what I'm thinking, or that's what he's thinking, but in the background, somebody's destroying all of that and you don't know. And imagine that person is your spouse. At what point would you want to know that your spouse is basically destroying your relationship financially? Do you want to know about it when it's $85,000 later and after credit cards have even been given to your mother-in-law to charge up under your family's name? We can sit and we can say, well, they should trust each other. Yeah, that's true. But here's something I also thought of. If we think in terms of money, all right, I'm 56 and so I've been around enough years. In the olden days, God, I can't believe I said that. Okay. In the olden days, Amazon didn't exist. Klarna, Pay in 4 didn't exist. Afterpay didn't exist. Okay. In other words, money was really kind of easy to follow in the olden days. For the most part, you had a checking account, a savings account. You went to the bank before 5 o'clock, U.S. bank, at least in Oregon. Okay. And it not saying it was simple, but at least from my childhood perspective, it was pretty easy to follow the money. Today, you can have accounts everywhere, hidden online. You can have Afterpay. You can have Klarna. For God's sakes, you can go on Amazon. If you can't afford that $25 item, they'll break it up in 4 for you. But there's one thing you cannot hide. You can't hide what's on a credit report. Now, if you're really in the relationship for the right reasons and you're in it to do your partner no financial harm and you're in it to always be clean financially, yeah, even if you want your partner to be in charge of the finances, you say, hey, honey, excuse me, I just hiccuped. You say, hey, honey, I want you to be in charge of the finances. You deal with it. That's fine. However, it's incumbent upon you as the one who doesn't want to do the finances to always be clean. Always to maintain a clean slate financially, so that the person that you want to have in charge of your finances knows that no harm is being done in the background. And if harm is being done, it needs to be fixed right away. And if that harm, I hate to say it, if it is an expression as to the state of the marriage, then that needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed when the bill is, $5, $10, $15,000 in debt and not $85,000 in debt. In other words, I believe, and trust me, I've been thinking about this for a couple days. I believe that if your marriage is on the rocks, okay, if you don't have a good communication between you and your spouse, okay, because 50% of marriages end in divorce. So in other words, if your marriage is not absolutely solid, I don't think revealing each other's credit report, say once or twice a year, is going to make the marriage any better or worse. But what it will do, in my opinion, is it will protect each spouse from harm that the other spouse could do without their knowledge. In other words, there are some people who will say, well, if I have to go and if I have to, reveal to you what my credit report is, it's like you're treating me like a kid. It's like you don't trust me. What does that say about a marriage? Well, actually, to me, it says nothing. It simply says, hey, this is a couple. They like to make sure their financial slate is clean. No harm, no foul. But in a relationship where things aren't good, in a relationship where maybe it's only surviving because of the income that someone makes, the status that someone has, it's only surviving because, materialistic things. It's not surviving because of the communication, okay, between the couple. Then hey, you know what? Having to reveal each other's credit report, is it going to change your lack of relationship any? No. In fact, all it will do, in my opinion, is simply protect each of you. Here's the thing. When I got married, all right, it never crossed my mind to pull my spouse's credit report, to pull a report on each other, not just my spouse's credit report, but to pull my credit report. In other words, and I'm sure I wouldn't, it probably wouldn't be part of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University because he doesn't believe in credit reports, but we're not going to go there. Okay. In the real world, we have to deal with them. All right. But would it hurt my relationship because my spouse asked to see my credit report or a fiance asked to see your credit report? No, it wouldn't hurt my relationship at all. I'll show my fiance a credit report. I don't have one, but I'm saying, if I did, yeah, I would show it. You want to go back 10 years? Sure. I would not go further back than when I was married because it's been almost a decade and I don't think that part's, involved in my life at this point. But during the time I've been single, sure, you can see it. Not much to see, okay? But if you really think about it, pulling each other's credit report to protect each other, I think you need to look at it like that versus, geez, you want me to go pull my credit report because you don't trust me? It has nothing to do with trust. It has everything to do with we want a really strong relationship. We want to be strong financially. I may see something in your credit report and go, oh, you know what? I know how to handle that. You may see something in mine and know how to handle it. In other words, in a strong relationship, pulling each other's credit report, I believe, will actually make the relationship even stronger. I hope this is making sense. In relationships that are already weak, in relationships where there isn't, that connection, so to speak, and I know people who are married not out of deep love, but literally, okay. I have a friend that I've known for years and years and years, okay, and I think their parents hit the big 5060. I know a couple of people that have hit the 5060, all right, and a lot of times they're simply together at this point, almost out of habit, all right. But regardless of why the relationship is together, whether it's for, because we love each other deeply, we want to spend the rest of our lives together, or it's just more of, it's a routine. I think until I got divorced, it was probably, honestly, marriage just out of routine more than anything else, okay, versus deep love, okay, and I'm just kind of admitting that, all right. When you really get down to it, had we pulled each other's credit report, would it have damaged our relationship with each other? No. Because in my opinion, where each person already, there's kind of that lack of communication and lack of trust, all the credit report is going to do is going to protect you. I genuinely believe that. The only time I don't think, well, I won't say the only time, there's never such a thing as only, but one of the times I would not be willing to pull a credit report, for each other, for someone I don't live with. I'm not married to you, and or I don't live with you. In other words, we may be boyfriend, girlfriend, but you live in your place, I live in my place. I don't see any reason to pull credit reports on each other unless we decide we want to live together, we want to get really serious. Now, that does not mean, and there have been stories about it, should you tell each other's credit score on the first date? Hey, all they have to do on my channel is just tune in this channel and you can find it, all right? But in general, I don't see why somebody I'm just dating casually would need to see my credit report unless it was getting to be serious. But I do know, and I'm sure there are people who would sit and then say, it's an insult. It's an insult to have to show my spouse every single year what my credit report is. And my question is, why would that be an insult? Wouldn't that protect you? All right. Would it not financially protect you? Would it not, in some ways, even protect the relationship? Okay. Maybe you do have a spending problem. And I see it. I see it on the credit report. I see that you've run up $15,000. Okay, stop. Time out. We need to fix this. It gives the innocent spouse also, and this is just the reality, a chance to decide if they wish to stay in that relationship. If you have a spending addiction, that's my history, okay? If you have a spending addiction, long gone since the age of about 30, you probably should have your credit report pulled. And you should have that discussion with your spouse, okay? To give your spouse assurance that all is well. Think of all the nooks and crannies and areas that we can hide debt in today's digital age. You can hide debt so easily. Like I said, go on to Amazon, Pay in 4, Klarna, Afterpay. You can swap money with people that your spouse didn't even know you owed through Venmo, Zelle. But one thing you can't do, you cannot hide it through a credit report. It's going to show itself. And if the couple looks at the credit report from a positive standpoint and says, we're using this information to help us, especially, and if you think about it, it's couples who have had kind of a volatile financial history. Okay, I'm not saying volatile history with each other, but just volatile financial history. They're getting married, excuse me, or they want to get married, and they're aware that, there have been some bumps in the road financially. Wouldn't it go to make a stronger couple? And wouldn't it be easier for you to heal your financial wounds if there's a clean slate on what everybody owes? Okay, I see you have a card from here, here, and here. All right, these are the balances. What are we going to do to tackle it? They can look at me and they can say, I see you opened up a card here, here, and here. What's the balance? What can we do to tackle it? In other words, where a marriage is already great, where the communication is great, where the views on money and the ideology that people have about money are the same or very similar to each other, I think the idea of pulling a credit report is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. No different than let's sit down and assess where we are with the mortgage. Let's assess where we are with the children's college fund. Let's assess where we are with the credit report score. I think the people would be most, I think the word is adverse to it. The people would be most adverse to it, going to be really honest, people who have something to hide. They feel that that's too intrusive. Well, if pulling a credit report is too intrusive, then you probably don't want to be married to that person. Because I don't know anything more intrusive than getting married to someone, thinking that all is great financially and having someone destroy your hopes, dreams, your retirement plans in the background. And the case with this lady, $85,000 in credit report. Imagine if her husband had seen the report and gone, you've just pulled up, you've just got us into $85,000. I see here that there's a credit card with your mother's name on it. I see here that since I last paid off the house in full, I see that you've opened up, I'm just hypothetical here, okay? You've opened up 10 more credit cards with all these different balances. Does the husband not have the right to protect himself? Does the person who is not out of control with their spending, do they have the right to protect themselves financially? Do they have the right to decide, if the credit report shows that the person they're married to is just an absolute out of control spendaholic? Does the person who is not the spendaholic have a right to say, I don't like what I see? Now, this is not saying, I don't like what I see, I'm divorcing you. That is not the intention. And that is actually really far from my attention as to why they should pull a credit report. But I really do think that each person in the relationship has a right to know that, yes, we are on track for retirement. Yes, we are on track for the children's college fund. We are on track to pay off the house. And if the credit report could be added as just one more tool to help improve the financial health of a relationship, then why would you not do it? I can tell you, I look at my credit report all the time. Okay. I have exceptional for on-time payment. I have exceptional. Yes, the word's exceptional. I thought I'd never see that either. Okay. I have exceptional for, what is it? Exceptional for debt to borrowing amount. Okay. So I think you're supposed to have no more than 30%. All right. And I don't have any. All right. I'm a little weak. I'm a little weak in the number of credit cards that I've opened. Yeah, that's one of my weak areas. Basically saying you've opened up too many credit cards. Well, they'll live. All right. And I'm moderate. Actually, I think I'm considered good. I think I'm above moderate. I'm considered good in, in diversifying. In other words, I've got a pretty good mix of, I have a lease car that puts on the credit report. I paid off my mortgage. There was that. I do have a revolving credit card that I use. So that's good. I touch a little bit of base, and I actually spread my credit cards around that I use. I try to, I don't care if it's a stick of gum, just put something on the card. Okay. I don't ever maneuver more than 2 cards at a time because I don't want to stoop it over the limit fee because I forgot about it. So what I'll do is I'll take a card, literally, I'll just quickly put something on it for like $20. And then literally right as soon as it runs through, I'll just pay the $20 off. It just activates the use of the card, which is important for me, especially because I want to keep my credit score high and stuff. But this is just something to think about. Paula, I thought your idea was just amazing because I had never thought about that. And I wrote him and said, I think I'm going to use this on my channel. So, if you wish to share your thoughts and comments, should couples pull each other's credit report? Does it harm a couple? What are your thoughts? Chime in, write a little, write a lot. It's all good on this channel. Agree, disagree. It's all good on this channel. But, do I think couples have to do it? No, I don't. Should they do it? Well, my question becomes, should you know the balance of your mortgage? Should you know the balance of your car payment? Should you know where your children's college funding stands? Should you know what student loan debt you have? And to be able to do all of those things and to get the best interest rates, to get the loans that you want, what's something you're going to have? Oh, yes, a very good credit report. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I would like to thank you for joining me on this Friday evening, the first day of spring break. I hope you guys will consider subscribing. You guys have a great rest of your Friday night. Good night.